Good afternoon, I guess, at this point. Thank you for hanging out for the best part, because we are here for the families, and we've heard that over and over and over and over today. So I am Karen Moyer. I am the founder of the Moyer Foundation, founded with my husband, Jamie, who played baseball for a very long time. And what we did was we took that platform of his job in the communities that he played in and gave back to children. And along the way, founded 2 camps. One is a grief camp called Camp Aaron, and that's for children who grieve a loss of a loved one, ages 6 to 17. And a lot of my kids have lost loved ones to addiction and suicide. And after Camp Aaron, we founded Camp Mariposa. So I think there's slides happening here. I'm not sure. Let's see here. Is this the beginning? Yes. Okay. So Camp Mariposa is a free weekend overnight camp for kids ages 9 to 12. I founded this camp because of a personal story. I had custody of my niece at the age of 8. And her mother was battling addiction. And I was mandated to get her to therapy, but I couldn't find anything for her age group, ages 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And so after some research and looking at actually her therapy book, I found Claudia Black, phenomenal advocate for addiction. And I cold called her and said, hey, I have an idea. And we took a year and created this model of Camp Mariposa, which is now 8 years old, and the first camp started in Seattle in 2007. Again, it's a free weekend overnight camp for kids living with family addiction. Let me see if I'm on my slides right here. Okay, thank you. The Moyer Foundation, what we do is we partner with accredited mental health and youth-serving organizations to facilitate our camp in communities all across the country. These camps are held 6 times a year, so every other month, with continued care these kids get, and we hope for getting them at session after session, ages 9, 10, 11, and 12, because we are breaking the cycle of addiction. And strangely, we haven't heard that today. Nobody talks about breaking the cycle of addiction anymore. We put a voice to that. I'm here standing before you to tell you that my camp is breaking the cycle of addiction. Each camp receives a commitment from the foundation. It includes multi-year funding, the best practices guide, so the A to Z on how to facilitate a proven camp model. They receive communications and marketing support. And they become a part of our national network of professionals to share best practices on how to effectively serve these children at Camp Mariposa. So our primary goal at Camp Mariposa is to give children with family history of substance abuse the knowledge, the tools, the coping skills to prevent them from developing an addiction of their own and to help break the intergenerational cycle of addiction. It's a safe place for them to talk and to trust. They learn they can't control it. They learn they don't cause it. They learn that they can't control it. Instead, they learn to celebrate themselves. We are breaking the cycle of addiction, and we consider ourselves a preventative program. Camp Mariposa is, like I mentioned, launched in 2007 and is now national. So we have 8 locations, and in 2015, we will host 44 sessions of Camp Mariposa. So you can see where we are and our growth, if you can see the slide. Let me share with you a story about Emily. Emily I met at one of the first sessions in Seattle. When I first met her, she, alcohol fetal syndrome kiddo, 9 years old, very meek and shy, hair in her face, was hanging onto her lammy. The photos to your left are of her when she first came to camp. She did not interact, completely bullied by everyone. Kids at Camp Mariposa wouldn't be friends on the playground. And the empowerment that they get at camp to support each other is so beautiful to witness, that we know they take that back to school, and it has a snowball effect on these kids. So with Emily, she got to come to session after session. She was removed from her, dad was not in her life, and mom was the addict, and grandparents were raising her. And so she comes to session after session, ages 9, 10, 11, and then I see her again at camp, and I did not recognize her. I literally sat down next to this young, a 12-year-old, and brushed back her hair. It was really long and pretty, and she wasn't wearing her glasses, and I said, "Gosh, you look just like a girl that I know at camp." And she said, "It's me." And I was just completely blown away emotionally by the transformation. It's called Camp Mariposa because they are my butterflies. They transform into beautiful, beautiful young adults. She was able to attend camp, and the photos on your right, you see me and her at camp doing a hike together, and then me and her doing a fundraiser together. So she was able to get up and publicly speak and share her experience. And she's a thriving high schooler right now. So some of the reflections of the parents who send their kids to our camp in Los Angeles, some of the things that they've said are just so profound, that we know that camp is not only changing lives, it's saving lives. And when the kids go back to their families, then the families also are being transformed. One parent says, "I can relate to what the children say because I'm also the daughter of an addicted mother. What I don't understand is how I can inflict on my own children the same abandonment issues that I face. Nothing is as painful as the thought of my child hurting and feeling neglected. If only I could turn back the hands of time. I never meant to hurt them. I just hope they realize how much I too was hurting, not having healed from my own dilemmas." Another parent saying that she realizes what parents choose to do themselves severely harms the children as well. Though they aren't physically affected, abused by the drugs being used, it has a great effect on their mental and emotional well-being. Hearing the thoughts of these children motivates me to remain sober and allow the change and transition of recovery to take over. This motivated me to continue doing right in order to give my child a fair chance at life. So the future of our work at the Moyer Foundation is with the families impacted by addiction. So maybe there's about 4 priorities for us right now. Notable is that we work with military families. So in the past year, we've been working to actively engage military families impacted by substance abuse. And probably the second thing I haven't heard again on the Hill here today, which I find really fascinating, is that this affects military families. And I know that everybody here cares about that. So know that about 20% of my campers that attend Camp Mariposa come from military families. Military families have been greatly impacted by addiction. Research from USC recently found that children from military families are at a much higher risk for suicide. Am I on the right slide? Let's see here. I think so. Sorry. I want to share real quickly with you a story about Caleb. Caleb came to Camp Mariposa in Indiana, and he was 11, and came with his brother. Mom's a huge meth addict, was able to come to 2 sessions, and Mom was not really happy with how strong and vocal and independent Caleb was becoming, and so she didn't get him to session 3. She didn't get him to session 4. And things were so bad at home that by what would have been session 5, Caleb had taken his life at the age of 11. So these kids that are affected, families living with addiction, suicide is a big, big issue. So at the Moyer Foundation in our camps, last year we incorporated signs of suicide. So it's an evidence-based suicide prevention program for middle school kids. So we assess our kids, And at that camp in Indiana, when we did that the following February, half of our campers, ages 9, 10, 11, and 12, all were high risk for suicide, thinking that that was the easier way out. So the silver lining and the good news is that now we have preventative programs for these kids. We offer this to all the campers at all of our camps, this assessment. We do it twice a year, and we work with our partners now in the communities that are doing our camps. And I can tell you that now that we know which kids, all of these kids, 100% of them, have been connected with other support services, and almost all of them are receiving individual or group counseling and talking about prevention of suicide. We also work with Native American families, and we are continuing and increasing our work with children from the Native American communities all across the country. We plan to offer also a webinar to Camp Mariposa directors and staff on Native American culture. That's coming up in the fall. And the other thing that we do that we've talked about a little bit today is that we work with drug courts. If I'm mandated to get my niece to therapy, can't choose a therapist, got to be there every Wednesday at this time, I did it. There's no reason we can't mandate when these parents are going through treatment that we get them to camps like mine, Camp Mariposa. And we've recently begun discussions to start, which is a really cool thing, to support that, a pilot project. So we'll be in Pinellas County down in Florida to serve the children of the adults that are going through that court in particular. And hopefully that does really well, and then it expands throughout the United States. So we'd like to continue that as well in our veteran courts around the country. I think I'm here, I'm not sure. So there is a call to action. We all have a call to action. And you can hear from the mouths of the kids at our camps. Things like Camp Mariposa helped me with the learning of the importance of ACT. I feel so bad. I had felt so bad and that I wanted to take my own life. And a lot of people at school would bully me because I'm not like the other kids or I was too hyper. But now I know who I am, and no one can ever take that away from me. That's a young boy at the age of 11. A young girl, age 10, Camp Mariposa has helped me learn a lot. Now I feel safe. Camp Mariposa is where I've earned my trust, and that rarely happens. A 10-year-old can't trust. Camp is my second home, says a 12-year-old boy. I'm so glad that I could be here. My dad died of his alcohol addiction, and I was very upset. At camp, I learned how to deal with it, and now I know there are other people that can help me. So I'm here to stand before you, as we've heard all day, that together we can break the cycle of addiction, and together we can make change. Thank you.